Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Autodromo Juan Carlos Pace, our host for round 5 of the RCI Multi-Sprint Series Season 3. This circuit is much better known as Interlagos and needs no introduction, as it is without a doubt one of the most famous tracks in South America, if not the world. The circuit may look a little bit different today because, oh boy, do we have some weather out there. Interlagos might mean between lakes in Portuguese, but prepare yourselves for the circuit to be a lake as well. In the words of some of the drivers I spoke to pre-qualifying, it's going to be difficult. I'm Jack Mays, joined by Ted Edwards, who's pulling double duty as commentator and as our broadcaster. We will be joined at some point by Adam Reed, who I think actually has just joined us. Perfect timing for that. Anyways, I do only have one single question before we get properly rolling. Ted, did you bring your umbrella?
I did bring my umbrella, Jack. It's a little bit damp out here, isn't it? Oh, saying that, look at them puddles on the curb there. It's not damp. It is soaking. So it's
Properly soaking circuit.
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one today. Because we haven't seen rain like this for quite a while. But we'll just have to see how everyone does. But Jack, before we get into the qualifying, I do have some standings for you to have a look at.
I love it. The standings had a little bit of a shakeup, I'd say mainly in the GT3 field after last week. But the RCI, Louis Kirton, still holding firm onto that first place. Can he hold it today in the tough conditions? I don't know. We'll see. He had a bit of a tricky time at Fuji out last week. But Klaus Nyring, another driver who didn't have the best race last week, but still holding firm, 100 points, second place. And Ryan Gill, his co-compatriot in the Valkyrie, on the third step of the podium in third. Hugo Merrill, driver who almost could taste victory at Fuji. Didn't quite get it in the end, but a great race, a great fight nonetheless between Hugo Merrill and our fifth place driver, Martin Vaselli. Winner last week out at Fuji. Great work, tied actually in fifth, sixth with Marco Badowski with 75 points. Max Suniev in seventh place. Reese Wilkinson, another of our many Aston Martin Valkyries that I take great pleasure in seeing and hearing around these race circuits, in eighth. Zina Van Driesche in the Peugeot in ninth, and Martine Mers, the sole Toyota driver, in 10th place. And now the rest of our hypercar field. I was going to say our GT3 field. I'm getting ahead of myself, of course. Billy Octane, another Valkyrie driver, in 11th. Usama Kanani in 12th. Milan van der Weken in 13th. Iridius Partez in 14th. A name that, if I have to say too many times today, I'm going to continue to apologize about absolutely butchering. It's my job to butcher names. Yanyo in 15th place. Peter Varga in 16th. Stefano Lai in 17th, and Matt Malcolm rounding out the point scorers in 18th. We have Jordan Navarro and Max Suniev in 19th and 20th. Now for our LMGT3 standings so far. James Cowley has breached the top step after last week, after a very solid performance in the P1. Maciej Kasperczyk on 2 wins in a row so far in the last 2 rounds, really making a run for this championship if all goes well today in second. Christopher Strapen, definitely coming off a tough race, an early DNF at Fuji, hoping to climb back up towards the top step, maybe make a challenge for that championship victory. Tom Shipston in 4th place, Philip Brecha in 5th, Olivier Brenois in 6th, Carlos Calatayud 7th position, Raphael Huell in P8, Matt Townsend in 9th, and Callum Kerrigan, who else, to round out the top 10. Richard Whittle starts us off at the bottom 20. Well, not the bottom 20. That's maybe a bit rude. But Richard Whittle in 11th position, Wojciech Rybecki in 12th, Kevin Boss in 13th. I think that's actually where he's going to remain for the rest of the season. I think he's out for business for the rest of the championship, but it was great to see him while he was here. Martin Meinrich in 14th, Frank 15th, Martin Lorick 16th, Thibaut Roskam in 17th, and Cormac Malloy well, I was going to say our one-off sign-up, but he's here today again, our two-off sign-up so far. In 18th, rounding out those point stores again with Lance Taylor and Ryan Walker, 19th and 20th. Now I can take the proper pleasure to introduce Adam Reed. Adam, how are you doing today? Welcome.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a bit of a hectic one by my side. Of course, university always a busy time, especially going into third year. That's always something to put a bit of pressure on me. But we absolutely go with it. But my actual debut for LMU, which is going to be mighty interesting. We're around the beautiful Interlagos circuit, and there we go. When the sun comes out, it is an absolute delight to cover a little bit around Interlagos. Plenty of technical corners, 15 corners in fact, on this racetrack. You are seeing in front of you 20 minutes of qualifying. So, of course, our GT3s will head out first, and it looks like it's one of our Aston Martins that will be leading the field. And then after a bit of time, after 10 minutes, we will then head into our hypercars. So, interestingly, it's a short amount of time that our drivers get out on track. So the best drivers are the ones who are able to adjust to their cars and get a quick lap time in within 10 minutes, which by far not an easy task.
Not an easy task on a good day. It's an extra not easy task in the day that we have today. I mean, the circuit maybe not looking quite as soaked as it was in practice, but it will certainly get there. The rain's dribbling away. It's going to be all about, adjustment, commitment, especially around a circuit like this. Lots of low speeds. Lots of low speed entry. Martin Lork already getting super out of shape on, well, not quite up to temperature wet tires. I can guarantee that all these drivers are on the wets. I don't think anybody's going to chance the slicks at this point. I don't think the slicks are going to get put on any car for the entire duration of not just qualifying, but this race as well. I took a look at the forecast. It's abysmal. It's not great, but rain is the great equalizer in racing, as some say, and hopefully we will be in for an absolute blinder of a race session, and hopefully a bit of a blinder of a qualifying session. All these drivers, Martin Lork being the first to bring it round, the first two who will end up being the first to cross the line. Probably not quite up to temperature just yet, but we'll see the level of commitment of these GT3 drivers.
We will do, as we now head on towards the first lap. Martin Lawrence, of course, competed a couple of months ago in the Mid-British GT Championship. It was absolutely excellent in his GT4 Mustang, but of course the Mustang Maestro will now take to the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, which is absolutely soar around the track. I love hearing the sounds of that V8 just grumble, especially on the downshifts as they head on towards turn 4 of Interlagos. He's going to be really almost petrified on the brakes. He already had that early snap into Ferradura. That gives you a little bit of worry, but of course stone cold tires are not the way to go, because it does take a little bit of time to get them warm up to temperature. So I expect Martin Lorentz and maybe a couple of others to be on a bit more of a warm up lap, and unfortunately he's already gone round the same corner of Ferradura. He's having to now back up and find a little bit of an area to negotiate himself into, and through he will remain on the kind of standings, but it will be James Cowley in his Lamborghini Huracan to take his place at the front of the field.
Yeah, James Cowley took his place. That was interesting, sort of same corner, same mistake, 2 laps in a row. It's not really how you want to start your session. But rather interestingly, I've noticed, because I have the race pulled up on a second monitor, Jordan Navarro in a hypercar is currently driving around the circuit. I don't know if they're planning on setting laps, but that's not normally what you'd see in this qualifying session. Hopefully that time doesn't stand, but a time that will stand for sure is James Cowley. He sets the benchmark time to start off on 1:42.2. Christoph Verstappen quickly, well, he doesn't answer. He works for it with a 1.3 off Kerrigan, next closest driver. But these are all warm-up times is ultimately what they're going to end up being. It's still feeling that grip level of the circuit, still trying to get temperature into the tires. Cormac Malloy is going to be next to cross the line. I think the last time he drove this circuit in LMU, he actually put the car on pole only to suffer a pedal failure later in the race. So I hope that he doesn't get pole. I don't know. I hope for not a repeat of the same thing that happened many moons ago. I mean, that would have been early in LMU's life cycle for sure when that happened, and hopefully the same doesn't end up repeating itself. This is certainly a circuit that can bite, but when your brake pedal doesn't go down as much as you're expecting, it works a whole lot less, doesn't it, Adam?
Indeed, equipment failures are never really what you want during a competitive event. You'd rather kind of have it during testing rather than, I'd say, an actual event. But we really can't control these things. Unfortunately, if you are expected to have a failure, you'd definitely rather have it during that maybe pre-session, when we test, say, is the best way to go. Looks like Martin Minarek in the Mercedes. Of course, it's been great having Mercedes back in the World Endurance Championship, as he currently runs the Iron Lynx car. Of course, 2025 being significant, with Mercedes making their first return to Le Mans for the first time in absolutely ages. I believe 25 years it has been not seeing that Mercedes back on the Le Mans grid. But yeah, I don't know about you, Jack, but it's been an absolute pleasure to kind of see that Mercedes logo back on the timing screens at Le Mans. But Minarek will continue to climb up the hill and on toward the timing, up toward the timing. Bearing in mind, we do not have a lot of time left in that qualifying. That spread continues to just ever increase.
Yeah, it's not getting drier out there for certain, but I do agree it is great to see the Mercedes back. It's also great to hear them back. They make a lovely sound, and LMU I think has done a very good job replicating it. One of the many V8s that roll around the circuit in the LMGT3 category, and an update in the Jordan Navarro early qualifying adventure. He's now been disqualified from the race, which I'm not sure how. I guess that's going out early. I'm not sure if they're able to sort of disconnect, reconnect, maybe re-up, give it a try again. I'm sure it's not anything that anybody would be too upset by. Jordan Navarro did put in a lap. It was a 136.3. I have a feeling the hypercars have a bit more pace than that in the wet. But we will see in about 3-ish minutes. But still, the LMGT3s are the ones on the circuit now. Cowley, that 42.2 that was set right at the beginning, very first lap, still stands at the top of the timing screens. It's looking not entirely like times are dropping too quickly. I mean, I see immediately Martin Meinrich with a green first sector, but still a second off the sector time that Cowley has done. And a final word on Jordan Navarro. He will be starting from the back of the grid, which it should mean that back of the hypercar grid, and hopefully not at the back of the grid, because the last thing any GT3 driver wants is a hypercar starting behind them. Hopefully the pit lane starts. There's enough going on in this circuit with the weather as it is that they don't need that level of distraction. Martin Meinrich putting in a 46.2. Still a lot of room out there. At the best of times, Interlagos is a circuit that to get 100% of the pace available, it's difficult. It's not easy at all in this weather. It's even harder, I think. Adam, if you want to agree/disagree, I think we're seeing that the circuit has gotten a whole lot wetter, and I think these times are going to stand for the next minute and a half.
It will be super interesting to see how these all go as the the hypercars now line up in a very devilish way. You know, some of the designs there just look so aggressive, and I absolutely love seeing these hypercars. And of course, this being my Le Mans Ultimate debut, this is also the first time I've ever covered a hypercar. So what a pleasure to for tonight to be covering one of these incredible cars. And it looks like Matt Townsend will be able to potentially go a little bit higher up. No, he dives into the pit lane in his kind of Brazil inspired WRT livery. So Townsend will be fifth. Miguel Martins will be in P2. He'll be at the front of the grid for that LMGT3 field. They're still just completing those last couple of laps here with Cowley. I think you can agree with me here, Jack, that Cowley's done an amazing job to put himself 6.5 tenths of a second at the front of the field. I mean, for me, a lot of people do say, you know, rain could be the great equalizer. In some situations, it seems like it separates the men versus the boys. It kind of depends on the skill set and the skill levels between every single driver. But you know, when you are able to 6 tenths of a second faster than anybody else on the racetrack. That really kind of sums up, you know, your level of accuracy and pace. How much do you enjoy the wet? Because I don't know about you, but Brits do well in the wet. A lot of drivers in real life, and maybe have even said, you know, I enjoy driving wet. You know, we've come from as young as karting. We kind of try and survive in the wet, even on a budget as well. So it's been so interesting to see how these guys have coped. Hypercar field will now leave the track as well. So Martin Lorenc will now make his way into the pit lane. So will Tom Shipston, who was also part of the Mini British GT Championship. I do want to say a big good luck to a lot of our drivers who are competing in the Alpine Sim Series very soon. So I believe there's about 5 of our drivers that competed in that British GT Championship Series that are now going to be on the Alpine big stage in front of, I'm guessing, hundreds of people, which will be absolutely brilliant for them as well. But here goes Hugo Merlins in his Porsche, and he'll now charge up the hill and see if he can actually put a good lap time in. They've got 8.5 minutes to do so, and the spray is very much still sitting there on the surface.
I think if we learned anything from the LMGT3 qualifying, it is your first lap is going to have to be your best lap. I don't think the circuit certainly isn't drying. If anything, it's getting a little bit wetter. The way that LMU, wetness works on circuit, it's not actually a progressive system. It's sort of there's stages of wetness. There's percentages of wetness on track. It starts at the first tick is sort of 3% where it gets slightly wet, and then closer to 10% is damp. Then it sort of progresses. I would guess right now it's around the 40% margin, as Ryan Gill is almost met by another Valkyrie taking an interesting line through the Senna S's. But yeah, the wet weather, it stops at a certain phase until the rain builds up enough till it jumps to the next portion of time. So I think fortunately for these hypercar drivers, this might be the level of wetness they get for the rest of this session. Ryan Gill going purple in Sector 1. He might actually be the first. He is the first car. No, he's by far not the first car to run through that first sector. Zina Ventrisha now being the one to grab the purple sector. But of course, LMU and its infinite silliness, as it's got lots of stuff, is no one has set a time. Everybody gets a purple sector. Doesn't quite update until after those sort of first laps are set, as Ted so brilliantly reminds me. Thank you for that. But we'll see as drivers begin to cross the line. It should be, well, I would say it should have been Hugo Merrill, but it was Hugo Merrill with a 1:33.999. Hugo Merrill, I think, at least if this championship has been anything to see, that is a mighty, mighty quick driver. That's sort of definitely a benchmark time. That Porsche has gone well on many circuits, and Hugo Merrill has driven it brilliantly. But another driver who's extremely quick, Martin Vaselli, coming off the win at Fuji last week, piloting the Ferrari, holding off Hugo Merrill for a good 30, 40 minutes of that race till the pit stops began. Drove a brilliant, brilliant race. And a driver that I love talking about and I love watching as he disappears is Billy Octane, who loves to make their way through the field. And another driver who maybe doesn't qualify the best, but race pace is where they find their footing. Yanyo in the Alpine, I believe our only Alpine of the bunch. Heard a little bit of a lockup there on the, I would assume, inside right tire. They're going into every zone. Every braking zone is going to be a tricky braking zone in these conditions. I was going to talk about how some are sort of easier than others around this circuit, but no ABS on these hypercars as a reminder. And you were already braking earlier. It's wet out. Obviously, you gotta push your braking points back. But if you're not squaring that car up perfectly before you hit those brakes, you're almost guaranteed to get a lockup. Because we get a little bit of a taste of V12 Fury coming off the back of Reese Wilkinson's Valkyrie. He's getting ready to cross the line. And it is a 35.5, so a reasonable lap time so far, but only good for 7th so far.
Looks like Hugo Merlin's gone even quicker in his Porsche, and now looks to really try push on and see if he could potentially extend that advantage. It's almost a second to Vesely. So that is going to be absolutely massive. They're really pushing those limits, and it's been really intriguing to see. And even these wet conditions, where of course they're all rear-wheel drive, these hypercars, but again, Merlins is really kind of struggling under the braking. I'm not entirely sure if the brake bias is maybe a bit too far forward, if it's maybe a little bit too far back. But yeah, it's time to squirm under a little bit of pressure on those brake pedals. You see the rear just twitching out again. I would just wonder if that's kind of a sign that, you know, it's not quite the most stable under that braking, but he's still pushing on forward, and he is still trying to put in a bit of a big time here, and in fact does go just that little bit slower than this time around, but it does kind of show he was faster in that final sector. And again, just trying to negotiate a hypercar around this circuit is nothing short of difficult, especially with the high power that is being pushed throughout here. Again, it looks like starting to put in a little bit quicker time. Hill has just gone faster into second in his Aston Martin Valkyrie with a pure V8 engine. It comes round to number 3 of Curva du Sol. Yeah, there seems to be no soul in sight, and by that I mean there seems to be absolutely no sun whatsoever here in Interlagos. It would be nice to see a little bit of sun appear out at some point during this qualifying session or even the race. But again, as you said, Jack, it does not seem like that is going to be the way to go. Again, Ryan Gill is not quite improving this around, so I think he may have just cooled up a little bit. He did go wide in towards the Senna S, so that may be part of the reason why our V8 powered car isn't quite going that fast. And meanwhile, Martin Vesely in his Ferrari 499P is now starting to push the limit on this time around. He's done a personal best in the first sector. What about the second sector? That will appear heading into turn 12 of Junshao. Yeah, he just seemed to be quite calm and sophisticated on this one. But what about that second sector? Again, it's a personal best, so he could potentially push this lap back up to second. But again, Hugo Merlin's continuously going ever faster. and goes 7/10 clear of Ryan Gill. With 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go, you're looking at very much these being the final time. So that could be Martin Bestley just about being able to get 2 more laps in. For the rest of them, it's going to be 1.
Final laps indeed. We have all drivers are still on the circuit. I think it's only Matt Malcolm who maybe elected not to qualify just yet, or possibly he might not be here. LMU. Okay, so he is here, as Ted just told me. LMU, another one of the funky things it does, it will still list cars that have signed up on the timing board, whether they're actually here or not. It's all very exciting stuff. But no, there he is. Matt Malcolm is sitting there, but Sunyev is not here. But all drivers getting ready to complete their final lap. I think whether Gill's time, whether he stays in P3, I got to give him props because the Valkyrie is quite poor in slow speed, I must say. I'm obviously far from a driver who can get the best out of these cars in this sim, but I've driven it enough to know that Interlagos is probably not a circuit where it should be going well, but Gill is going well in the wet. Another driver who's going well, Zeno Vandrisha, pips Gill on that final lap, a 1:33.7. Brings the fight a bit closer to the top two. Yanyo next across the line, a 33.9. The times are dropping for a lot of these drivers. They're finding their absolute best on these final laps as the fuel is run as low as it will be, and the tires are hopefully as up to pressure as they are. Klaus Naring, no first sector time. Oh, no, there it is. It pops up there. Whether that's actually a fastest first session, I'm not 100% sure. Ted assures me that it is, and that is a mighty first sector time for Klaus Naring. If he can keep this lap together, it hopefully could be a quick one. The Valkyries, as I sort of would guess and would be pretty confident on that, will lose time to other cars in the second sector. All that low speed and that big, that big V12 in the back, sort of dragging itself along the ground. The aero package on the Valkyrie, bit interesting. Fixed rear wing, so no matter where you're going, that's the wing you're gonna get. But it doesn't seem to hamper Klaus Naring too bad. Personal best in Sector 2, not quite as quick as some of the leaders, as I alluded to, but I think we're going to be looking for a pretty quick time. This is one of the last times that are going to be put on the board. I think only Yan Yo will be left across the line. Let's see what Klaus Naring can do. Did he go quickly in the final sector? He did, up to P3. The fight really getting a lot closer in qualifying. Yanyo not finishing his final lap and bringing an end to our qualifying session. A great qualifying for the hypercars for sure. The times coming to them, unlike in the LMGT3 category, and Hugo Merrill being on the pole. Unlike last week, Martin Vaselli, though, his Fuji rival, starting right behind him, Klaus Naring, as we just saw in that Valkyrie, putting a really, really good lap in, starting P3. Zeno Vandrisha, one of the drivers who loves the Peugeot, and we love them for that, in P4. Yanyo, the Alpine driver, in 5th place. Ryan Gill starting on in 6th. Reese Wilkinson 7th. Billy Octane 8th. A trio of Valkyries that we'll probably keep our eye on in the mid-pack. Milan van der Weyken in 9th, and Matt Malcolm will be our final hypercar starter. Actually, not our final hypercar starter, because we have one more. Our Jordan Navarro, who did put in a qualifying time, but got disconnected, got disqualified from qualifying for going out when he wasn't supposed to. But so, not a qualifying that you'd want for Jordan Navarro, but it's all to play for in the race. It's always all to play for in the race as we now move on to our LMGT3 qualifying with James Cowley, who put it on pole, the first lap, best lap, Miguel Martins in the Ford Mustang. Ted, very excited about that. He likes his big American V8s, and I and I appreciate him for that. I'm not gonna repeat what he just said though. But Mathieu Kasperchik, who's gone 2 in a row in race victories, in the past 2 rounds, starting from third, has a bit of work to do if they want to make their way towards the front of the field. Callum Kerrigan, very impressive qualifying for Callum. One of those drivers that did a solid first lap that ended up being basically everybody's lap time. Matt Townsend in P5, Cormac Malloy in sixth position. Christopher Strapen is one of our supremely fast drivers and a challenger for the championship in this series for sure, but has it all to do starting in seventh position. Raphael Huel in eighth, Martin Lorek in ninth, and Brenoit Olivier in the only, I believe, our only Corvette. Not exactly everyone's favorite pick, but I don't know. I like it. I'm red-blooded and American. I like a Corvette. Tom Shipston in 11th, Frank Forrest in P12, Racer Ibiza in 13th, and Martin Meinrich, our final LMGT3 starter, in 14th position. I think Adam, we got a race on our hands today. Are you? I mean, did you sort of you got a feel for what you're looking for in LMU here? You excited?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really interested what the traffic is going to be like as and we look through the grid. For me, I think it's just how quite narrow the circuit is. Of course, you do have that very, very wide, long main straight, and then you got the run down the curve du Sol. And then of course on towards turn number 4. That's all going to be quite light. But then if you ever catch a car around any other area of the circuit, it's going to be such a difficult task. So it's all about going to be traffic management, especially in toward that middle section. You're going to have to probably deploy a little bit of your hybrid, as it seems like production is getting very excited over Mustang sitting there in excuse me, second place. Of course, seeing there further down, it's brilliant seeing all these manufacturers as well. You see BMW alongside the Lexus, the Aston Martin, for the Harter Racing team alongside Raphael Huel's Porsche, with Martin Lorink and Bernard Oliver. The Corvette's been an absolute brilliant addition as well. So really intrigued to see kind of what we are looking for here. So I think there's going to be a plentiful amount of drivers really hoping to get their to dig their teeth into tonight's action. Of course, 1 hour and 20 minutes on the clock before our drivers will get set, and they will start rolling very, very soon. Just having a look around there, it's going to see the Alpine in there. Great to see the Alpine that usually is very unreliable, but I think LMU, I don't think we're going to have any engine problems this time around. So Alpine, you're safe this time around, as we now look towards in this getting rolling from this section of track, which just before Zhongshao as well, and the Porsche will get set going. So I think there's definitely going to be consistency in the mix. I think also survival is going to be so important, because if you're trying to absolutely gas up around every single corner in these hypercars, you are going to find yourself slipping and sliding all over the place. So it is going to be a massive amount of trouble if you are not quite on it with the traction as well. Also, I think it's also going to be the cold tires, which is going to be the main question, because down into turn 4 is going to be the main problem.
I think the first problem for all these drivers, as with every circuit, is going to be turn 1. They're rounding the final corner, getting ready to start this race. Hugo Merrill has it all to do to defend from the mighty Martin Vaselli on the outside. Hopefully everybody gets through cleanly so we can have a great race, because it's green flag racing at Interlagos in the wet. It seems that Hugo Merrill did get a good start. Martin Vaselli sort of looking around the inside, but he actually is getting done by Klaus Neiring around the outside, managing to stick it in the Senna S's. Couple of cars going off, couple of cars going wide, but no big contact I saw from the hypercar field or from the LMGT3 field so far. Zina Vandrisha, both the Peugeots, making an incredible start. Jordan Navarro somehow managing to get up to 6th position, as Yan Yo getting his way in the back of the field now. He's going to have to make his way pass a lot of... Oh no, Ryan Gill's going round. I don't know if he got a little bit of contact from the LMGT3s, but he got caught between them a bit, turns it round, gets it going again. But Hugo Merrill, he's done it. He's got out of the way. Klaus Nyring, he's getting done on the inside by Martin Vaselli. But so far, Hugo Merrill doing what he needs to do, but a couple of DNFs so far. We have Reese Wilkinson and Raphael Huel, one LMGT3 and one hypercar, already losing it in this fight. I think Martin Vaselli, he did in fact get the move done, but now he's under pressure big time from Zino Van Triesche behind in that Peugeot. I know Klaus Nyring now is just like, all right, let's get onto the main straight so I can drive away. All right, V12, yeah, winding it up. All right, now he's safe for the moment, but we'll say, not only is Zino Van Triesche putting some pressure on, we also have Milan van der Weyken just behind, as you see Ryan Gill after his spin already making his way back through the LMGT3 field. As we go on board with the Mustang driver Ted, worrying about his Mustang boy, hoping that he got a good start, and it seems like it wasn't the greatest start for Miguel Martins. A bit of argy-bargy in that beginning lap, but Zino Van Triesche still mounting the charge on Klaus Nyring, but Nyring did it in the third sector, as we're going to sort of jump back for a race replay of what I can only assume will be the race start, and also to answer the question of what happened to Reese Wilkinson. What happened to that Valkyrie, as maybe Reese Wilkinson never actually started the race. But we're going to back up to the race start, and I'm going to take a breath. Adam, help me out here.
What happened at the race start is your introduction. It seems to be on lips, so we'll have to see if they, of course, when it got going, we're pretty fast speed, and you see they're going up to the inside. There was the Ferrari. And so Jordan Navarro just went straight around the outside, goes off the track. Does he hit anyone? Oh, the collision between the Alpine of Mal and another car, and then we have the 27 Aston Martin going off. So we'll have a look at this once again, because here's Reese Wilkinson will ride on board with. I'm pretty sure he just gets a big old smack. Well, he smacks the back of the Alpine, and just starts continues round. He's then being passed by the GT3s, and then he's on the outside, taps round the Mustang. Oh, this is going to be absolute carnage. Oh, big hit there. That all happened right to the back. And now, you're seeing again. We'll see it here. Reese Wilkinson. This is a bit of a clear. Just taps the tips Miguel, and then goes into the Brazil-inspired BMW. And the first form, the Manthey first form car, completely just unfazed. I don't think you can even see the Aston Martin. Maybe if we go into a bit of a slow motion here, we might just be able to see. You're seeing kind of live replays here, exactly what we're trying to see there. So there at the tap, we're trying to see where Raphael Huel is, because he was the one that absolutely smacked him here. A couple more DNFs. I saw Martin Lorenk retires. And here is Raphael Huel. He's blinded by the Mercedes. By the time the Mercedes gets out the way, bang! Wow, that's going to be pretty much instant DNF. So yeah, we'll get a great view here. There's the Mercedes. There's the Mercedes. Hi! Aston Martin completely unsighted. Oh, and then gets a hit from the 65 Iron Lynx Mercedes. Tires flying around. That might be the station 777 Aston Martin. So looks like Townsend, just like Townsend's wheel. Okay, this is on board with Townsend, gets spun round. I wonder if he gets a hit. Oh, he's trying to avoid everyone. And yeah, the D station 777 car is the one who got the hit there. Of course, I'm quite new to this, so I wouldn't be able to identify who was involved in the majority of that error here. So it looks like now we've got Townsend now involved in all that. There is Martin Lorick, who was in that D station triples. We're going to have a look back at another replay and see what's happened here to Martin Lorick, who is going to be in the pit for quite the while here. We're already quite the way into this race. So if we go back here again, we'll just see he tries to get him through and then gets Townsend. He had no chance of avoiding that either. So yeah, it was just kind of a mixture of, drivers unsighted. And I think that kind of initial instant between the Alpine and the Aston Martin was kind of the kickstarter and all that, because then that sent a hypercar into the back of the LMGT3 cars. Then we tried to go 3 wide, and then with that not working, then we get the complete pile up. And when we do have that pile up, there's not really much road to go with whatsoever. As I was talking about before we went rolling, the track is so narrow. You think, it's a grade A Grand Prix circuit that is used for the likes of Formula One, but trust me, it is not that wide whatsoever. So already we have 5 cars out in within the first 6 minutes of this race. That's going to be a race that it seems like in P20s. He's lost his rear wing in the early stages, so I wonder if he's already backed it into the wall. Has he lost the pit lane?
Oh no!
He has lost it in the pit lane. Here's above view, locks up, hits the wall, and like, I need to reverse out of here. Then goes into the back of the barrier. That now removes his rear downforce, and a cry there from what seems like production. I think he's actually, has he come into the pit to replace the rear wing, immediately lose the rear wing again, and then loses his rear downforce. It's not been a good day for racer Ibiza. I think he'd rather be in Ibiza than soggy Sao Paulo, in all honesty. And to be honest, I think the majority of these people in this Discord call would be as well.
I think you are 100% right on that. But I gotta say, for racer Ibiza, it takes a lot of heart to not in that moment immediately give up. Because if I made that mistake, and boy, I have in a lot of practice sessions, I fly out of pit entry. Even in the dry, I've done that before. I know that feeling, but to just say, you know what, it's all good, forget about it, we're going to come around, do it again. Christoph Verstappen getting a little bit out of shape there, going wheel to wheel with the mighty Mustang. I also have to say, I'm impressed that more cars didn't DNF. We only lost 5 cars in what looked like a, 8-9 car collision there. That was certainly the most dramatic start I've seen as a commentator on RCI so far. I was talking as we were on board with the hypercars, right after the race started. I was like, yeah, it looks like we were all clean on the start. Looks like everybody stayed out of their way. Boy, was I wrong. That was quite a lot of disaster. Ted saying that's a commentator's curse. I don't think that counts. I will not tally that against myself. I do have a running tally of how many times I've commentators cursed somebody. I did it 3 times in one race on my second ever race one time. Not ideal, but not ideal for me, not ideal for any of these drivers involved in those collisions. But the ones who made it through, I saw a couple of drivers sort of skate by. I think we were watching that replay. Cormac Malloy was one of the he wisely went left when most of the carnage was to the right, barely skating by, spinning GT3 cars and all that. And the cars that survived the onslaught well, sort of running pretty decently in the order. But Miguel Martin says we've sort of been on his rear bumper for the last couple of corners, being hassled by the mighty Christoph Verstappen, a super quick GT3 driver. But the rain sort of, is he going to go for the dive? He's going to go for the dive, but doesn't quite get alongside just enough into turn 8. Oh, but he's going up over the curb. He's still running side by side. That was actually around turn 7 that he went for it initially. Now they're at turn 9 now. going towards, but if Miguel Martins, he does keep it on the keeps it on the black stuff, doesn't get as loose in the rear as Christopher Strapen does. The fight between the two of them only heating up. Christopher Strapen knowing that for his championship hopes, he's got to clear these cars. He's got to clear a lot more cars as Christopher Strapen loses the rear of the car in the last moments, gets stuck on the grass, and just, oh, now he has to wait for those few cars to clear. Christopher Strapen is not happy out there, as well, most drivers, I'm certain, are not happy out there, and the few that are doing extremely well. The leaders already coming to clear the LMGT3 field. Hugo Merrill has put 4 seconds already to the good of Martin Vaselli. This is I knew he was quick, but that level of pace in the wet is mighty impressive, as Ted's shouting out to me that Olivier Brenois is up in 3rd place, gaining 10 positions among all the calamity in the G3 field. Very, very impressive. And Maciej Kasperczyk is already going ahead and doing it again, and is leading this race, hoping to go 3 in a row, really make a charge at that championship. And Hugo Merrill, as we stay on board, is doing a mighty fine job, putting 4 seconds, 3.5. It sort of shifts around just a bit as they make their way through these corners. As we're back on board with the mighty 4, Ted wheeling him on. I'm sure Miguel Martin can hear us, even though I doubt he actually can. But is sort of pushing up to the back of that Iron Lynx, giving a little bit of a push in the back, indeed. But Tom Shipston not giving way just yet, and Ted also mentioning how there's no window wiper going, and he could be in hood view. I think actually the rain buildup in LMU is really super minor, as you can see. I mean, even with the spray of that Porsche going ahead, you can still see pretty darn well through there, as Miguel Martin seemed to have gotten a much better drive than Tom Shipston out of the final corner. Already done the move before they even get to the braking zone. If Miguel Martins gets this right, he would have kept the position, and Matt Malcolm is in the pits, maybe with a little bit of damage. We're not sure. I mean, obviously, it's a bit early to be making fuel stops. It's a bit early to be changing tires, but not sure what has happened with Matt Malcolm's race. He's one of the drivers that unfortunately has been struggling just a bit to get the best out of this Aston Martin Valkyrie, but he's clearly, wisely, if it was a damage fix, if it was an energy refill, he's got full energy. He's hopefully got a 100% race car, and if he takes it easy out of the pit entry, let's see. Please don't do. All right, yep, got it done. No crashes. No crashes in the pit lane so far. Matt Malcolm re-entering the circuit. He is a lap down from the leader, so a long hour and 6 minutes ahead. Already tons and tons of action so far in this race. I think, Adam, we're getting treated to a mighty fine race around Interlagos here today.
We definitely are. It's definitely been one of those races that has been a test of attrition as well. A lot of these drivers in those very, very tricky conditions. Early pits are being made up, be it for a little bit of an energy pop-up or maybe even a set of tires. But whatever Matt Malcolm was in fact doing, I think it's going to be potentially may have saved him. You never know. May have refilled his confidence up a little bit. But now we just follow here Billy Octane in the all pink V12 Aston Martin. And he tries to negotiate the GT3 spec Aston Martin. Again, Ryan Gill, who put in some very, very solid laps. He's in the qualifying section, just absolutely straight over the curve there, almost detonating his car with it. I don't think the V12 in that engine would have liked that. I know how you're saying, Jack, that the V12 basically just scrapes itself along the floor with the weight of that engine, but still just trying to really push on through. Both Astons now looking up to the back of Navarro, who of course had that disqualification during the qualifying session for being out there a bit too early for his hypercar class. And now he's sucked behind the Mercedes, and this is what I was talking about. It's a very, very narrow circuit. He's going to go wide, try and find the grip on the outside. Now it gets squeezed by the Mercedes, and Octane will find that gap on the inside line. He also squeezed through on the Mercedes, but Navarro was very much compromised by the actions of that Ironix liveried Mercedes, and he will now find himself in a little bit of a spot of trouble here with Octane and Ryan Gill potentially on the back here. It does seem like our GT3 field has shrunk a little bit, but we head along this straight here. We'll see Octane now closing. He's got some deception here. Will he go to the left side? I don't think he should attack the time around because Mustang is just there, and that will hamper the entry of the Peugeot. Navarro will try and get the exit. I think Gill will go around the outside of the Mustang there. That's going to be Matt Malcolm, who goes off the racetrack there, and unfortunately it looks like his race is absolutely done and dusted. His car will be wrecked on the side of Brazilian or an Interlagos mountain. Billy Octane continue to try and push on through. Let's have a look and see what happened with Matt Malcolm. Hopefully it won't be just look at the rear, already starting to step out through this left-hander. Is he going to dip a wheel on toward the curb? No, it seems like he's going to stay relatively okay, but then lose it on the exit on Jung Xiao, and then just find the bit of grass and decides to touch grass. You know, not I think something that I need to do a little bit more of.
I think it's something we all need to do more of.
Yeah, Billy Octane, of course, going off the circuit there. But yeah, I think a lot of these sim racers, I think they're going to be stuck to their sims. Maybe. Yeah, I hope they be touching grass recently. But to be honest, their sim race is probably not. You know, been sitting on here sweating LMU for the last 10 hours, and they still got an hour left of this race. As again, Octane now sending Navarro a little bit of a defensive drive here as he continues to push on through, and it looks like he's gone straight off, it seems, and that's going to allow both of the Aston Martins to go on by.
Yeah, we're going to look at a quick replay of this. I think Navarro just made that sort of slight mistake, braking maybe 5-10 meters too late in the wet. Yeah, just not being able to slow the car down, going wide, taking the alternate line, shall we say, through the Senna S's, and that's 2 Valkyries through. Those are the SJ&H cars, the pastel pink and the pastel blue, as I like to call them, just waving back through past Jordan Navarro there. But Navarro's been quick. I mean, a very solid race start, and outside of the handful of mistakes, sort of going very well, and Zino Vandrisha now being the one to be the next Peugeot to hassle a couple of Valkyries. This is on the back of Klaus Nyring just ahead. Both drivers making their way through the LMGT3 field. Seems like because of the weather, it's caused sort of every both classes to spread out amongst the circuit. So there's not a lot of breathing room for these hypercars as far as there's no real clear circuit for them. It's going to be a straight fight. It's going to be a brawl. It's going to be managing traffic. It's going to be managing wheel spin. It's going to be managing braking. For it's just a long list of everything that they need to do as we go to the LMGT3 leader that those 2 cars actually just overtook. Maciej Kasperczyk, another name that do I know if that's how you say it? I honestly don't. I've asked enough people. They all sort of say it sounds about right. I've been saying it for the last 3 weeks, and until Maciej comes on the horn himself and says, say it this way, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and keep apologizing for how I do it. But another great drive so far for Maciej, and a great drive as well for Olivier Brenois, the sole, Corvette driver didn't qualify too well and managed to gain 10 positions off the race start, showing good pace. I mean, not quite the pace of Cali and Kasperchik ahead, but I don't think anybody's in this field is really showing that pace between. But it's good enough for now to stay in third place. There is a full fat hour of racing ahead of us. I feel like we've already been going now for a good 30, 40 minutes, but no, we've only just begun. And all of these cars will need a fuel stop at some point. Sort of depends on fuel usage. I think we just saw Olivier Benoit getting a little bit wild on the exit there of turn 12. And I imagine, the gap looks a-okay. He didn't quite lose it into the grass. It wasn't a repeat of what we saw with Matt Malcolm. He kept it going, but it's probably keeping his eyes on the Delta behind Callum Kerrigan and Cormac Moore, the next two car behind. Not a lot of gap between them, but now it's Shipston on Christopher Verstrappen on Shipston, as that's Ryan Gill. Oh, sorry, that's Jordan Navarro, who's made another mistake there. Just that sector one seeming to be real difficult for Navarro as he's taking all of the exit curb in the world. We'll see again where that happened. I mean, assume that's got to be the exit of the Senna S's. No, that's a turn one yet again. Comes over, re-enters the circuit. Oh, has a wiggle, a bit of a bounce onto the curb. Almost saves it, but Jordan Navarro ends up going around. But what's important, didn't hit the wall. Well, did hit the wall. As I say that, just a little boop. That's a dead engine there. Anyways, back on board with Jordan Navarro, one of the drivers who's possibly had the most exciting race. Wondering, Ted's thinking maybe a bit of rear damage. Yeah, I'm thinking a little bit of the same. Just a snap one way. Oh, yeah, that's a clean break. That impact in any car in LMU, that's engine gone. As you can see it spewing smoke, steam, and all the fluids and cylinders it still has. Not only that, lost a wheel. But that's the end of the race for Jordan Navarro there. That's now car number 7 DNF, I believe. That's our 7th DNF so far in this race. In only 23 minutes. Isn't that right, Adam?
It is indeed. Not ideal what's happened with that. And that's Christopher Strapen, unfortunately, in his Aston Martin. That's going to be a bit of that's a big question. Looks like he's gone off at turn 3. We'll see what the relay here says. We continue to speed up. Round turn 3, cover the Sol, gets right on the back of the Mercedes, whacks it into the wall. That takes me back to the 2003 Formula 1 Brazilian Grand Prix. So much carnage, very similar conditions. And again, we've probably seen that during the race as well. But, big incident there. And that's to see Verstappen out again on view. Yeah, just look at the Mercedes, how much he gains. He's right on him, and then just kind of gets a little bit nervous, and I think just loses the rear. Just tries to correct, not hit the back of the Mercedes. I think if he did hit the back of the Mercedes, I think a very, very similar thing would have happened. But I think all he wanted was a run, not to be sniffing the back of a Mercedes AMG GT3. So we now look back to the live action here, and DNFs is the tally from each class here. I did think there was going to be a little bit of shrinking in the standings, and those DNFs just slowly closing here towards the top end of the field. And we now look back. I think another car has gone up, and there you go. Van der Vecken, who's gone around as well. Looks like Octane as well. So we'll have a look back and see what happened here with Milan van der Vecken. On the back here, what seems to be Octane. Octane is offensive. Van der Vecken. Oh, that's going to be a bit of a wild one. Oh, just a break. It's a simple outbreak there for Milan van der Vecken. and I believe that they will look to continue as Billy Octane is. I thought for a moment there he wasn't going straight, but yeah, we'll have to see what happened here with Billy Octane. Let's see what camera angle we're given. We're given the behind camera, just dart straight over to the right hand side to open up the entry, and it does seem like a missile is coming towards in the form of Van Vecken. We'll have to see what happens this time around. We'll get maybe a frontal view with the Porsche driver. And on towards turn number 4, just trying to follow, and then oh my goodness me, the brake lights just turned on and just all locked up there. Unfortunately, I wonder if we might get a view before we out. Oh, and goes into the pit wall, and that was straight into the live action. That is incredible, impeccable timing there from our TV directors. So we'll have to see what happened there again with Van der Vecken. So up the hill, here's the pull, it seems like, from the engine and on towards the pit lane where they believe, I think it's time to, and then I think it's just bumpy on, and then once you're round, there is very, very little to stop. I believe that's a Ferrari. Apologies for calling it a Porsche. So that's going to be another DNF in our little book, and unfortunately there, that's going to be a big moment. Yeah, we're being told in our ears 6 hypercars remaining, and I did tell you before we were rolling, this is going to be a battle survival all the way through the entirety of this hour, well, 52 minutes that remains.
You were absolutely dead on. I alluded to driver difficulties, but I don't think I was prepared mentally, physically, or spiritually for the melee that we've seen here. Zeno Vandrisha still holding firmly behind Klaus Nyring, not able to make any inroads past that Valkyrie. I think it's, something of the best chance at this circuit is at turn 1, and that's where the Valkyrie is going to be quicker than every other car. It is just the pro of the pro. It is a pro of straight line speed. The Valkyrie being the car of choice for any circuit with a very long straight. There's I think there's a LMU 24 Hours of Le Mans next month. I think 90% of the signups are Valkyries. I will be doing it in the Cadillac. Thank you very much, Ted. I'm sure you're happy to hear that. But Zeno, I mean, you can see he sort of closes up in the middle sector. We're getting a really good example of what I'm sort of thinking might be happening here. Closes up in the middle sector. After turn 12, turn 13, the Valkyrie just opens that gap right up. Zeno Vandrisha just doing his best, but that gap, whatever it was, it's probably about half a second wider and into turn 1. Zeno can brake as late as he dares, but there's no getting through that. There's no getting through that gap. As I'm looking over at our intervals for the hypercar field, Hugo Merrill still doing an absolutely phenomenal job, having greater pace than Martin Vaselli, navigating the GT3 field magnificently. Here's a perfect example of where it could just be so frustrating and so difficult to clear that LMGT3 car. That's Callum Kerrigan there, who's still running in 4th position, but Hugo Merrill being the right amount of patient and aggressive, clearing that car, not robbing himself of too much time, and getting out of the mirrors of that Porsche GT3. But that gap continuing to open up just a bit. Another gap that continues to open up just a bit is the leader for the LMGT3 category, Mathieu Kasperchik. It's I say it's opened up, but it's really been around the 2 to 3 second mark for the last sort of while, and Cali doing their best, which I gotta say, big fan of the Huracan, so great to see that in second place. Cali actually went quite well around Fuji last week, and it went very well around Monza the week before. a driver sort of, I think Cowley on the up and up in terms of confidence and pace in this sim. But definitely a top 3. I don't know if somebody asked where my bets would be. I think first place I would have put my money on Mathieu Kasperczyk for sure. But Cowley and Olivier Brenois, maybe not. But the rain is doing what we hope it does, which is shake things up, make things interesting. And also, did I mention the sun's going down? So it's just going to get also quite a bit darker later in this race. I think Ted pointing out rightfully so. I think the rain has actually stopped, which I didn't think was possible. I think the circuit might actually begin to dry out if it hasn't done already. It's certainly not as wet as it was. No wipers from any drivers, and I know for a fact that Cormac Malloy is an indication of rain because his wipers are on auto. How do I know that? He and I race together a lot. He's a lot faster than me. That's why he's here, or he's there, and I'm here. I stay where I belong, which is running my mouth instead of driving the car. But yeah, I think the circuit's going to dry out. I guess the weather forecast, either I was given bad information, I can't read, or things changed. As if the circuit dries out more and more, we'll start to see maybe by the time the pit window is ideal for these hypercars, they might come in, see if any of them are brave enough to throw on the slicks when they need to. Hypercars do much better in moist conditions, damp conditions on slick tires than the GT3s do. The GT3s have to wait till the circuit is practically bone dry before even considering putting those wet tires on, so I wouldn't be expecting to see them on dries anytime soon. But Zeno van Drisha, his tale as old as time. A tale as old as this race is long, which is about 37 minutes. So far, still trying to make inroads on Klaus Neinring ahead. Very impressed at how well some of these Valkyries are going through this circuit. Zeno getting stuck behind a GT3 car here. It's tough to overtake. We saw Hugo Merrill sort of going around the outside, making his way around the Porsche, but you sort of need to be in the perfect position to do that. Van Drisha getting unlucky. Multi-class doing, I'm going to now refer to one of my favorite quotes, which I don't actually know who said it, but I say it a lot, which is multi-class giveth and multi-class taketh away. As the gap was already a bit wide at the start of this lap, but it's even wider as Van Drisha sort of has to sit and watch that car, that Klaus Neinring driven Valkyrie just drive away. I mean, you can see the gap as they get to the braking zone. It opened up a good 3/10 when they were on that straight. The Peugeot might be better in the slow speed, might be better under braking, but where it counts right now is on the straights. And Klaus Neinring is sure very happy to have chosen the V12 monster.
Absolutely is. 46 minutes left to go in this race, and as you say, the conditions do seem to be getting a little bit drier. Hugo Merlins is now just trying to get that car through some of the corners. I think mainly it's the spray on the from behind the cars is what we're really trying to notice, but again, I'm not really being able to see much on any of these cars. Again, he's extending that gap out to 8.5 seconds. So it does seem to be we're waiting for the pit stops, which should be happening maybe in the next 5 minutes. And Merlins doesn't think it is time for the dry compound tires. You don't really want to time this perfect. The last thing you want is to be out on a you want to be out on a set of wet tires on a dry track. It does seem like from the back of that LMGT3 there is not as much spray going on, so expect to see pit stops. I also believe that maybe we will see maybe about the halfway mark of this race we will be seeing maybe change of tires, change of a top up of energy, because it does seem to be they're starting to run a little bit low. Just kind of been finding that middle kind of middle ground, especially when you have an hour and 20-minute race or an 80-minute race. It looks like Kerem is lifting and coasting as he makes his way now on towards the curve. So again, you're looking around about the between the 30th and the 40th minute, depending on how much lifting and coasting you want to do. You're really looking at that energy bar. If you really think it can go 40 minutes, then absolutely do your thing. Go make that pit stop onto the dry compounder tires. If you don't think it can last the distance, again, I think you should really start thinking about saving. So a lot of management happens in these 80-minute races. Then we now continue with the Porsche. And again, you really start to feel as a driver, you really do get into those moments where you're minutely managing the throttle every single time you press it down. Every time you brake, you really focus on your kind of tracing as well. Yellow flag out there as well, so that has been immediately revoked. It does seem like we don't have any troubles out on the circuit now, but yeah, it could be just a driver going off circuit and then rejoining. But I think there's been some really positive stuff there. Bruno Oliver currently sitting there in third place in that Chevrolet Corvette. As a brilliantly striking kind of design too, especially aerodynamically, because I've been very fortunate to go to the European Le Mans Series race and be standing next to the TF Sport car, and it's honestly been absolutely amazing to see. It's a car that looks pretty quick as well. Maybe it just still maybe need that little bit of development. Maybe about within the next 2 years we might be able to see it racing right up at the front. Maybe we'll get an Evo version. I think there's only one at the GT World Challenge, that being created by Stella Motorsport. Again, another car that would be very lucky to see if they get to Brands Hatch for the opening round of the Sprint Championship, or Sprint Cup, I should say. Yeah, they came in a all black livery, which is absolutely fantastic here. So there are your kind of intervals for and top fives of each class. And leading by a hefty margin. Van Driesche still looking at that podium. He's not too far away. He's still got to keep on tabs there with Nyring. Otherwise, he doesn't want to let that open too much. I think that it is going to be Olivier, who's kind of in the middle of nowhere at this rate. He's a whole 20 seconds behind Cowley, 22 and a half behind Kapinski.
He's almost, I wouldn't quite say, I mean, Carrigan's quite close behind, but he's almost in the patented John Dalton zone. A place where I feel like much of these drivers are sort of sitting right now. The level at which this race sort of went off at the very beginning it has sort of, calmed down a little bit. We'll have pit stops coming soon, and I'm looking, and the track is currently 5% wet, which means it's damp, which means that's slick territory for the hypercars. And yes, Billy Octane is on the medium tire compound, and I think all of the hypercar drivers now are going to finish the amount of fuel they have in the car, make sure they can make it to the end after their next stop. Every single car is going to go on slicks. And I think whoever, I believe it was Frank Forrest that's in the box right now for who's the LMGT3 car, who's in the box, should be putting on slicks if I were them. And Billy, as confirmation, he is on the medium, and here comes Martin Vaselli and Zino Van Triesche. I think they're going to go on mediums as well. There's Vaselli. Yep, I see that it hasn't updated on the broadcast end, but I secretly hide it in the actual session so I can see. Both of those cars have thrown on the mediums. Ryan Gill, another car, was Forrest actually stayed on the wets, which is will be fine for a couple of laps, but those things are going to start to get hot and start to really not work as well once this circuit hits dry. It goes from damp to dry pretty slowly, but I think Frank Forrest is going to need to go in and stop one more time as a flurry of stops. The remaining hypercar field seeing, all right, some of these guys are, no, Gill has issues coming out of the box, as just a brief little tap on the wall. And that would be slick tires on a wet pit lane, cold slicks on a wet pit lane. Let's see if he can navigate the pit exit with a little more finesse. Yes, indeed. Clears it masterfully, gently on the throttle, giving it a couple of attempts, coming out as we're going to see what the outlap might look like, as there's Hugo Merrill going through, our race leader, staying out. Klaus Nyring also electing to stay out. These dry tires are going to take some time to warm up. I can't imagine the track is very warm or very grippy at the moment. A little bit of a wiggle. The Valkyrie is a handful at the best of times, and I can only imagine how it feels for Gill, managing to wrestle it into submission through the second half of the second sector. We'll see all of the steering lock. Give me everything that this steering rack has. Gently on throttle. You see the LMGT3 car just ahead of Cormac Malloy, and as you've probably noticed, the Valkyrie is not catching on cold tires on a not very well gripped in track. They're about as fast as a nicely warmed up LMGT3 car. But now that we're on the straight, now that Ryan Gill has put his foot down, it's bye-bye, Alexis. I have places to be, and my V12 wants to sing. As Maciej Kasperczyk, our LMGT3 leader, has gone into the box, also put on dries. That's one of I think that's our first dry runner in the LMGT3 category. That's a bit of a brave move for sure, going ahead and being like, I'm leading this race, and I'm going to be the first one to enter the box and the first one to put on those dry tires. It's sort of, this could be race deciding here if Maciej makes any big mistakes coming out of the pit lane. Oh, he's tapped the wall. I saw he was trundling through, but that's a little bit of a tap of the wall. That's not race ending. That's not really race inhibiting. Just a little bit of front damage on this car. Maciej is the type of driver who can drive around that. But yes, the hard to spot upside down W showing that Maciej is in fact on the mediums, and I must say this circuit is getting dark. It's going to get a lot harder for these drivers to see. It's going to get a lot harder for us in the comms box to see. We're going to see a lot. See this, see that, as we see Maciej Kasperczyk coming down the hill, very gently getting super out of shape, and there's nothing. No front end. Zero grip coming out of that pit lane. That is worst case scenario, but not too much time lost. But the gap when he came into the pits to James Cowley was maybe 2-3 seconds. As Ted rightfully spotting, that's a wiper that's turned on, and if Maciej is running auto wiper, that means it's starting to rain. I do see confirmed on the race screen 1% rain. The rain has come back around. It is going to take a long time for that rain to sort of soak this circuit, but Maciej Kasperczyk is stuck on a slick tire on a damp circuit, and rain has just come back. This could go really poorly for our former race leader, but Hugo Merrill and Klaus Nyring keeping their cars going an impressively long time. I mean, when you're in the wet, you're really not using as much fuel. You're not driving at full pace, but this might work out for both of them, but also this gives them a tough choice. Do you go on the dry tire? Clearly it's going to be the faster tire at the moment. At least I would assume it is. Actually, in the timing screens, it doesn't look like it actually is. I say that Martin Vaselli at that moment puts in a 30.1. Hugo Merrill's best lap is a 31.09. So That's a second a lap from those dry tires. But is that going to be a second a lap through the rest of the race? The rain is now back up to 3%. I think this race has another wrench has been thrown into this session. Adam, I think things are about to go off again.
Yeah, I do think that we're kind of at the stage where rain did leave us, and it's decided to come back to Klaus Naring. I think will be one of the drivers that may be looking at his choice and thinking, have I gone with the right choice? Have I gone with the wrong choice? I think that's going to be the question for a lot of drivers. And of course, there's only 6 hypercars out there, and you're right, the dark has really come down on us here at Interlagos. The only kind of lighting these drivers will be getting is from the main straight, I believe, because of course that's where all the lights come from in terms of the garages, in terms of the floodlights. I think usually you get like a little bit from race control as well. I'm not entirely sure what rooms or where the light sources are coming from LMU in Interlagos. So I think for a lot of these guys, they're just trying to stay apparent with the weather. Now Nairi under dice way up inside of LMGT3. They're just currently putting a little bit of a balance here to potentially work out what they're doing, but they're just having to stay very observant to what is going on around them. Skip and these gaps are really trying to open up as well. Miguel Martins with the board Mustang. He's sitting down there in 5th place. He can also work his way onto the back here of Malloy. Kerrigan will be a further 12.5 seconds up the road. You'll be looking at a podium here. So I believe with 30 minutes still remaining, you're still looking at many opportunities for any open chances for these guys to really open up and see if they can potentially get another place or two. So you really shouldn't be resting on your laurels as well. Keep getting at the lap, what you can get out of what you're currently with in the race. So I'd love to see what the lap times do look like in terms of they got quicker. I remember they were doing what 133s with the hypercars in qualifying. But I believe the GT3s are also doing maybe 144. So you're really seeing the times are potentially going a little bit down here. Will be an interesting sign, and especially you're going to find so much time, when the wet conditions are clearing. But again, there's still a couple of spits around the circuit. It looks like Martins is gaining on what seems to be the left of Malloy. Again, that might be a battle to keep an eye out for. Again, a yellow flag popping up. That always kind of seems like he's just like a yellow flag that always kind of gets our head up, and that's going to be Ryan Gill. Ryan Gill out of the session. 5 survivors here in the hypercar class. Let's have a look and see what happened here with Ryan Gill. And you just saw there the moment where we were in the daytime. In towards the center S. Again, the ridge is going.
Slick tires on a wet
gone.
track. Yeah, so while
that's going to be
sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I just want to mention the rain is properly coming down now. It's gone from what was 5% to 15%. The circuit has gone from damp to now slightly wet. We are back to wet tire conditions. Every car that is on slicks right now is in the danger zone. Billy Octane has gone back to wets. Martin Maselli's about to go back to wets. And we just saw Ryan Gill stayed out, a lap too long and just lost the rear entirely. This is big news. Mathieu Kasperchik is back in pit lane. His early stop, his brave stop, I think has just lost him this race.
going to be massively frustrated for him. I think he's going to be so deeply annoyed with himself, and I feel that, you know, it was so easy in these really unknown conditions to make a mistake like that. Maciej Kaspierski, or however you pronounce that last.
I don't know.
Trust me,
You're doing great.
A first
doing
time,
great.
a first is never ideal. Overweight in Drisha is indeed on hard tires. Oh, the Peugeot has made a drastic error here. And, oh, he's absolutely crawling. You could probably barely breathe on the throttle. They're going to be absolutely freezing. He's even got the wet sign there on his mini dashboard. So that is going to be a real indication. Already braking so early down to first gear. And it just under zero. Oh my word. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, if you decide to put the wrong tyre on the wrong track. This is what you're seeing here is stone cold dry tyres on a completely wet surface. Look at oh my word, again, just tries to follow through, but it doesn't seem to be wanting to respond whatsoever. And you just saw the Corvette just blast on through like it's on absolute rails. But oh, this is absolutely horrible for Zeno Andreska. And it just slides into all the corners, and it just has zero responses to whatever Zeno is trying to put in the car. Again, turning into all the hairpin. I'm sure this is going to be a real issue. 182 degrees of lock there, just over the 180 that Yudi had, and then he's just chopping away at the steering wheel. Looks like as well, as the Mercedes go through, got a little bit of an update. Octane and the of the track onto the grass. Don't get stuck. Oh, it's an absolute. You know, you're praying at this point as a racing driver, as a mechanic, a team principal, whoever, even as the commentators, we're just praying that Peugeot can make its way around the circuit. But he's lost a hunk of time as Billy Octane goes on through.
That's a disaster. Disasters is the only word to describe that. I think that was just a mistake on pit entry. You know, cycling through, trying to make sure that your pit settings are correct. You're already wrestling the car on a wet circuit on dry tires. You're like, I need these wets, and you know click maybe your D-pad one too far to the right or whatever button they may be using, and it's just gone on to hards. And I will say, I'm very, very impressed that Van Drisha actually made it round without, well, I mean, it was a catastrophic lap. Let's not kid ourselves, but kept it out of the wall, kept it out of other cars, and it's, you know, it would be, you know, sort of disaster, but there's only 5 surviving hypercars. This is still big points if Van Drisha manages to hold, you know, and keep the car out of the wall. And if it ends with 5, this is a big points for all the cars that still remain. But so, you know, going from fighting for a podium there to now sort of losing a couple of positions. James Cowley, our now race leader, going into the pits, staying on those wets, and sort of jumping up and down, I'm sure, is the equivalent of jumping up and down in a sim, being like, oh, the race was maybe handed to me just a little bit. Maciej Kasperczyk making that mistake. Take a quick look at the YouTube chat. We have a ton of drivers. We have Kevin Boss actually in the chat, dropping oohs and ahs and ouches, and Natalia Romanska willing on Maciej Kasperczyk, and I'm sure reveling in the mistake or the bold move of going on those dry tires too early. And apparently, as word from Milan van der Weyken, Zeno was screaming to the point that Milan van der Beken is now deaf. Those two do race together and, reveling in that mistake. But Milan, just remind him, it's a guaranteed P5 at worst. And that's not that bad. As I think it should be said, Cormac Malloy is leading this race. The last car to stop, I think earlier when Miguel Martins was catching him, I sort of was thinking to myself that maybe there was a lot of fuel saving going on. Cormac is he's not the most intelligent guy, I'll be honest, but he's pretty smart in a race car. He's pretty smart in a race car. Pretty smart on race strategy, and I think sort of not making mistakes in fuel saving enough, and at some point getting ahead of Callum Kerrigan. Callum Kerrigan clearly having made some form of mistake. Look at that spray in the darkness. I mean, it's just it's already I'm sure following one car after the other in this amount of rain, in this amount of spray. It's pretty difficult. If it was this dark on lap 1, I don't think any car would have finished this race. But this is Olivier Brenoir on the back of Callum Kerrigan. Kerrigan hasn't pitted yet. I could pretty much guarantee that Olivier Brenoir has. I think the Kerrigan and Malloy sort of extending as much as they could, seeing where the weather was going. Fortunately, not biting early, not boxing early, but I think they may have stayed out just a bit too long. I think Cormac should stay out as long as he can. Just say, hey, I led a couple laps. Look at me. As Callum Kerrigan crosses the line, beginning another lap, still extending that fuel stop. I know, similar to last week, I had mentioned it, but talking to Callum, the way that the Porsche is set up, it's actually carrying about 10 laps of extra fuel that it can't actually use. It is entirely in the car to put weight on the rear, so when that thing gets to low fuel, it doesn't then become a rear-engined oversteer machine. But Callum sort of he's kept it reasonably consistent. Still he's in a podium position right now, but after the pit stop, not 100% sure where that's going to drop him. But more props to Olivier Brenoir in the Corvette, sort of coming from nowhere at the beginning of the race, making the perfect judgments, the mighty moves to avoid the melee, and is in a net P2. It's incredible work from all these drivers. I think it cannot be overstated how difficult this level of driving is in these conditions. And you can see just back there, I think that's Hugo Merrill. Exactly. Thank you, Ted. That is Hugo Merrill in the background, sort of. I mean, you saw him earlier making his way through the traffic like it's nothing, but now that we're back into full wet condition and lots and lots of spray, it's just take it easy. As Klaus Neiring finally pulls into pit lane from the lead of the race. This is the final hypercar to pit. Oh, Frank Forrest is in. I think no, he's okay. He is in a wall. It was kind of hard to tell. It's very dark. He's just sort of tapped the wall. We'll go on a quick replay to see what happened there. But Frank Forrest, as a reminder, was a driver that's I think went back onto the wets. Then I think went back onto the dries, and then ended up, I assume, back on the wets. So he sort of got moved out of the way. That's Billy Octane there. I mean, doing what a hypercar needs to do, overtaking the slower class. Frank Forrest going around. That was
bonk.
I too think he touched the wall. Not an ideal ending for Frank Forrest. I'm not sure if he got the car going again, but I mean, you can see he's coming through turn 8. He's sort of, I think, flashing Billy Octane a little bit, maybe a little bit annoyed of how that overtake got done and just got on that throttle too early. The boost came in, and the rear came round square into that wall. That's another driver we've lost, and I think, yes, we are up to 10 DNFs. We started with 28 cars, 18 remain, and we still have 20 minutes left in this race.
Indeed. So we'll have to see how these drivers continue, because especially when you're driving the 80 minutes plus that qualifying session, you do start to get a little bit fatigued, which is, you know, a real test of, you know, mental strength rather than physical strength for the sim racers. Breno Oliver really just pushing forward, see if he can potentially maybe gain a place here, really chasing down Kerrigan as well. But now see Cormac Malloy fighting away with the Lamborghini Huracan of Cowley. Cowley will now go ahead on this one. We look down here and look at that. That's the energy. Well, for noticing that, director, because that is almost right at the end of its limits. And it kind of depends how much energy you want. I think you probably want about maybe up to 50% or 40%, around about there. But will Cormac Malloy be able to get back to the pits in time before those, that energy just completely depletes and run out? We'll have to see, because he's now going to end the... No, he's going to stay out. I'm not entirely sure if that's maybe a wrong indication, but that Lexus is in a spot of... It's in a spot of trouble, it seems like. If he is down in those very, very low percentages, you're really running at quite the distance here. So again, he tried to go another whole lap, but I think he may have missed his stop this time around. So but yeah, he does. I hope that he will be sitting in the same bits the same amount of time. I think you're just seeing here battle with Breno Olivier. And then Kerrigan just ahead there. You see number 3 glowing on the side of the pink Porsche. An indication on their position in terms of their class. So Breno Olivier will look to potentially go on the left hand side. Nope. He's going to just sit back on the Porsche because he knows he has 18 minutes to pick up that place and score a podium here in the absolute soaking Sao Paulo circuit of Interlagos. That has been the home of the World Endurance Championship. 6 hours on Sao Paulo. Of course, it was an event very, very early on in the mid 2010s, and then came off the calendar, but it looks to have came back, I think, as early as 2023. It's been really nice having the 6 hours returning. It's been a real, I think, staple in the World Endurance Championship calendar. I've been really enjoying having this circuit back, because, you know, it's such, I don't know about you guys in the little call we had. I don't know about you, but for me, Sao Paulo is an absolute classic racetrack. Breno Olivier kind of catches my attention very quickly. And it does seem like Cormac Malloy is in. Through goes one of the Aston Martins. Looks like Kerrigan isn't in this time around, but yeah. No apologies. The it was a race between 2012 and 2014, and then came back for 2024 and 2025. So it's been a race that has not been held for, 10 years, which is an amazing amount of time to not have this classic circuit on the circuit. And it's been a real mix, because Toyota won here twice in 2012 and 2024. We've had Audi, Porsche, and then Cadillac join. So it seems like Toyota, which I think we only have one of in this field, be multi-time winners in the World Endurance Championship. At the moment, the Porsche 963 of Hugo Mellons is really looking to try and push on. He extended that gap up to 33.5 seconds. A yellow flag here, because Cormac Malloy Oh, he's now spinning around. What tyres is that car on? That Lexus. Oh my word! It's more contact, and he's just hit round a BMW. And I'll be honest, I'm getting some very, very funny shouts in my ear from camera direction.
Cormac, in case you watch this back, Ted is talking mad trash right now. I'm not gonna say whether I agree or disagree with what he's saying, but I think that's enough indication to Ted that I think Ted, you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. It's an easy mistake to make. I mean, he's coming back onto the circuit. These tires are not where they were for the last hour. He's on these colder tires. They're clearly not having the bite on the front end. I don't think the Lexus. Oh, that's actually a bit of a surprise on where that went round. It just sort of goes, and that actually is an impact on the wall. Oh, that's a big one, and he sort of just manages to collect, spin round, get going again. But as we saw earlier, that's the that was the BMW of Maciej Kasperczyk. That was our former race leader, sort of trying to go around the outside. And we'll see that again from Maciej's perspective on his sort of TV camera. I mean, 100% sure between the two of them. Cormac sort of keeps his nose in, sort of runs it a bit wider than Maciej maybe was expecting.
Oh, that's Nyring. Sorry, I think that was that. Sorry, that was
no,
Messi.
that was Martin Vaselli behind the wheel of the Ferrari. I mean, he's coming up this corner. The Goodyear sign is blocking where that car is, and it's just Maciej re-enters the circuit. Oh, it's another big mistake from Maciej Kasperczyk. He already made a mistake on the tires, and that's just sort of he just comes back onto the circuit and decides to not continue, being a bit unpredictable. Martin Vaselli punting him round, spinning him round several times. I thought maybe we were, rounding out the sort of incidents, the big hits, the big moments in this race. But, well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on whether you're a driver or whether you're a spectator, it's not over. We still got some more racing to do. And we're back on board with Callum Kerrigan. I do not understand how his car is still going. Callum Kerrigan appears to have already boxed. I could have sworn that it said that he hadn't on the pit tally, but he clearly has the virtual energy. Well, I'm almost tempted to go ask him in person whether he's actually stopped or not. So potentially Callum Kerrigan is on for a mighty, mighty finish in this race if he can keep holding off Olivier Brenois, but there's no way that he could have made it this far and still have that much energy left in the car. That is an impossibility. I mentioned that the Porsche does carry extra fuel for setup purposes, but that doesn't mean he's carrying extra virtual energy, which is the actual fuel allocation that these cars sort of mandated to use. As we can see, pink on pink, Billy Octane going up the inside of Kerrigan. They're obviously easily. That is a hypercar on a GT3, but well, I guess we're just sort of going to speculate for the next 11 minutes, but I don't know. Callum might be on for, I feel like I could probably say pretty certainly one of his best finishes here in RCI. If he keeps it all together, this could be huge for him. But it's interesting to see that our overlays haven't caught that he has had that pit stop. I don't know. Adam, what do you think? Do you think he's stopped? Do you think something's going wrong? What's your theory?
It is. I think for me, it's exactly in the boat. It's mind-boggling to think what has potentially happened to Callum Kerrigan here. I think for the majority of us, I think we all kind of hope that it is an actual proper position. You know, he's not kind of out there sitting in, you know, in second, but maybe like a net fifth or sixth or something along those lines. But Magic Kapicki looks to a little bit of an issue. Out to turn number 3 and on to 4. Sorry, I was I believe Cormac Malloy. My apologies on that part. The Lexus, the black and green Lexus, decided to have a little bit of a slapper into the side of the BMW. Now starting to chase it down. It seems like we approach the singular digit minutes in this race. Now heading into those kind of crucial moments where you have a look at the clock and think, how long have I got left? How long have I got to go left? And you just kind of hope that, you're not going to be trialed with the longest 9 minutes of your life. But for some drivers, they will want it to kind of end very much soon. We now keep an eye on the cars around the circuit. Klaus Nyring has got a big lead there to Martin Vesely. And I think that lead is definitely partly created due to, of course, the BMW, I believe the Polish driver, kind of trying to emerge onto the circuit and then kind of stop, and that really kind of scared off the Ferrari. But again, that must have cost another 10 seconds, maybe even 15 seconds, 20 seconds even, to his time. It's been great seeing the Aston Martin really working away, that V12 engine singing as it goes up the straight here and on towards turn number 14 of the circuit. The spray right behind it really just shows the kind of conditions you're seeing out here at this moment in time. Don't worry, fellow Aston Martin fans, you're not seeing an engine failure from your favorite lean green machine. You're just seeing a lot of spray around. Indeed, potentially in a Le Mans Ultimate, we might need to see a little bit more like evidential rain, because of course, yeah, the spray is cool and all, and it's kind of what we need. But I think you need those kind of rain droplets, and in kind of maybe soft, medium, or heavy, to kind of get an idea of what the conditions are really like, because that will, I think, really help visually to the drivers and to us, because the last thing I think anyone on this race circuit wants to be doing is kind of second guessing about what is going on around the circuit. And it's been such a kind of tough trial for everyone to be able to try and keep themselves in competition here. Because, as you say, the conditions have been so tough. You said earlier, Jack, that it's been such a tough kind of drive here. And I think everyone should really kind of reward themselves after this one, with 6 minutes to go there, and brand new on the air. Starting to flash the back here of Callum Kerrigan. Up the inside goes the Peugeot. So we're starting to really see here Zeno Van Driessen trying to dive up the inside there at the Porsche. He's trying to move his way through. Currently sitting in 5th place in the hypercar class, and now you're seeing Kerrigan. I think those tyres are very much starting to go off here, and does Olivier sense an opportunity here in his dying 6 minutes of this race for an opportunity to go on by and really create a fantastic finish. But again, Kerrigan, I think, would absolutely be delighted with a podium place. Again, I'd love to see what his energy does look like at this moment in time, because of course it's been such a tough one, and of course the bold decision not to pit. So genuinely, this could be on pace, on merit, second place for Callum Kerrigan.
I can confirm it is an on-merit second position. I went on a brief mission to go ask him personally. I know the Discord chat he's sitting in, and I went and asked because I really wanted to know. Completely forgot to ask him how much virtual energy he had, but I do know that he has pitted. I think he said he was the second person to have boxed, so very weird that we missed seeing it, and we missed it on the, or we're missing it on the overlay. extremely strange stuff, but excellent work for Callum Kerrigan. I hope that if he made a brief mistake about 60 seconds ago, that was because I was yapping in his ear. So if that cost him the race, I will never not hear about it. But I think it's going to be a brilliant straight fight for these in the closing stages here. We've counted down below 5 minutes. Olivier Brenois pushing hard behind. I mean, that was a big wiggle from that Corvette. The Corvette seeming to, I don't know if it's a wet champ. I don't know. It seems to sort of not be well picked by a lot of drivers, but it's going well today. I think Olivier Brenois, was spurred on by missing the death at the beginning of the race and showing the reasonable pace in the wet. But now he's got one more mountain to climb, one more roadblock to clear to make for one of the great drives that I'm sure they've ever had. Continuing the conversation briefly about what LMU needs as far as rain, as long as Olivier doesn't go for a dive here. No, Callum Kerrigan sticking sort of middle left of the circuit, blocking that. Olivier goes late on the brakes, tries to go around the outside, doesn't quite have the overlap. It's tough to outbrake a Porsche. The Porsche's GT3 car slows down than anything else, better than anything else. But Bernard Olivier getting real close. It's interesting, by the way. His name's backwards in LMU. Or maybe that's how it actually is. But he's signed up as Olivier Brenois, and that's how I will refer to him. But Olivier doing lots of sort of trickery. You see flashing the lights back there, sort of forcing Callum, hey, look behind. Look at that guy flashing. Hey, look at me. Don't look at the corner you're about to go through. As Callum Kerrigan goes, maybe a little bit wide there. I do that a lot. I love flashing people for no reason. Because, if you flash them and they just... I'm allowed. It's legal. There's nothing in the rules book that says you're not allowed to do that. But it's clearly not working quite to the effect that I've seen it work, though. Callum Kerrigan holding his nerve so far. I think we're gonna have one, maybe 2 laps more. I think certainly at least one more lap. Not 100% sure where the leader is. Hugo Merrill actually just crossed the line. 2 laps remaining in this race. Hugo Merrill's amazing performance. A great drive. Very, it's something we've seen many a time in this series. Hugo Merrill just putting in the work and being extremely quick and extremely consistent, and great to see that not even the rain can shove him off. As Kerrigan not electing to go defensive quite this time, thinking that the gap is well enough. I think Callum sort of sorted where Olivier's braking point is, how late he can go. That's brave going up on that curb like that. That inside curb there, always slippery, especially slippery in the wet. Little bit more flashing. We'll see if Kerrigan goes defensive. He doesn't cover him off. It's a little bit of a jink under braking, a little bit of a shift. Nothing too crazy, nothing too dangerous. But Callum, I think now is just focused on, just driving his line. It is hard to get around, to get past here at Interlagos. There's only a couple of times to do it. This corner is one of them. But Olivier Brenois, apologies, just sort of squirreling about, not, confident for sure to be pushing this hard, but I don't think this fight is going to come to an end until the checker forces these drivers to stop. I think they'd go at this for another 20 minutes. Actually, no, Callum 100% will be happy to put his hands up and say, I did it. I'm sure he's sweating right now, but a extremely good performance. He's very, very stoic. When I talked to him, I was like, hey, have you boxed? And he's like, nope. Yeah, second person to pit, and basically was silent and effectively told me to shut up and go away because he's got a P2 to secure. Hugo Merrill has started the final lap of this race, I'm trying to think of a single adjective to encompass what this race has been like, and I don't think a single word is good enough. Um, it is officially, we've ticked down to 0 minutes. Hugo Merrill going through Sector 2 for the last time. He knows that basically all he has to do is keep the car on circuit. Doesn't actually have to go all that quickly. Knowing Hugo, his foot is still to the floor. He's probably still pushing for lap time. He's got the Lexus of Cormac Malloy to clear for the final time. He's nearing turn 12. Around that, get this braking zone right. Don't go off circuit here, and the win is basically his, which he has done. Let's see, any crazy last minute spins, any excitement for us, Hugo? No. Nope, he's just going to nail it perfectly. Another incredible drive from Hugo Merrill. He wins yet again in the multi-sprint series by a 55-second margin in the wet in Sao Paulo. A super great drive that's a Peugeot going, okay. James Cowley crosses the line. He didn't make the early stop, and that saved his race, racing confidently in second for most of that drive, but taking that P1 position from Mascier Kasperchik and not waving as Callum Kerrigan, another driver who didn't wave under pressure, didn't make any mistakes, an absolute fantastic final fight for us here, a final treat as Callum Kerrigan crosses the line for a P2 finish. And Olivier Brenois certainly won't be upset with that finishing position. What a great race. Klaus Nyring, that's that 55-second gap that I alluded to. It took him this long to come and cross the line for seconds of the 5 hypercars that we had remaining in this race. Miguel Martins, maybe not capitalizing fully on the qualifying position, but still finishing greatly. Here comes Martin Vaselli. He won out last week. He didn't quite have it. Had lots of excitement. Had his late race excitement. Hey, there's the BMW he ran into. Anyways, Martin Vaselli crosses the line for the final podium position, as you can see in the background. That's Maciej Kasperchik, who finished the race. A disappointing finish to what was a blinding start. And I think Ted's going to give us the treat of seeing what Zeno did as he crossed the line. There was a lot happened. Adam, if you want to, I don't know. I think you should try to describe what we're about to see, or as we're seeing it.
What we're seeing here is Vandrusha about to head to the line. A very disappointed driver. So I think he's very angry with himself, and you can see where that car is going. It's straight into I saw, I don't know about you, but I saw a ballerina.
I think you're right.
Music.
Let's see.
Add the music. You need to add the music in.
Oh, apologies to the folks at home if you just vomited. That was a lot of spinning. And I think that is the perfect way to cap off what has been a race of all time. I mean, a absolute. I wouldn't exactly call that a classic. There was a lot of incidents, a lot of DNFs, a lot of fights. But here's our post race results. Hugo Merrill, as we talked about him all day, going ahead, doing what he needed to do, didn't falter at any point. Only didn't lead the race briefly, but basically put it to the good of everybody else, being the master of the wet conditions. Klaus Nyring in second position, going very well in that Valkyrie. I think I need to stop thinking of the Valkyrie as a slower car, because all of these proper quick drivers are proving me differently. Martin Vaselli, not having the confidence, not having the pace in the wet of his rival Hugo Merrill, and also going on those dry tires only for it to start raining again. Billy Octane in fourth position, the last of the SJ&H cars, Ryan Gill being one of our uh, DNF'd cars. Zeno Vendrisha, the final of the 5 hypercars that managed to finish this race. Zeno actually ending up uh, as one of the cars that went, well, he went wet, dry, dry, wet. So a bit of a different strategy. Certainly not one that was intentional. No, Zeno was definitely upset after that race, but P5's P5. I don't know. I'd be happy with that. I don't know. I think I'd be okay with it. And now we move on to the there's slightly more GT3 cars that made it around, but there are still tons that did not, when were unable to finish this race. James Cowley behind the wheel of his mighty Lamborghini Huracan is on the top step today as we briefly look at the stream analytics. And now back to the and now back to the standings. I forgive you, Ted. That's okay. But James Cowley, a great result. Callum Kerrigan, an excellent, extremely great result. A great final fight with Olivier Brenois behind him, finishing in P3. Miguel Martins, and the sole Mustang driver. Ted was willing him on all race, and he clearly didn't will him hard enough because he only could do P4. I say only. A great result for a extremely difficult session. Maciej Kasperczyk, I think all that's said is just forget it and move on. I mean, P5's a great result, but if Maciej wants to secure that championship, no more mistakes, no more putting on dries when, well, to be fair, can you really blame him for making that mistake? When you see a dry circuit, you think I'm going to put on dry tires. You don't necessarily anticipate that the rain is going to come back with a vengeance. Cormac Malloy is in P6, Tom Shipston P7, Martina Meinrich P8, and the final driver, racer Ibiza, who that's right. That was they had an incident very early on into the race, but managed to keep their head. That was how many rear wings did Racer Ibiza go through? I think 3 in that race potentially, but
Two at
still
least.
2 at least. Uh, and but keeps their nerve, finishes the race a P9. That's still good points. That's a couple of slots in the championship guaranteed. And I believe we have the one, the only Mr. Callum Kerrigan here for an interview with us. Usually, Callum, if I see your name here, it's because we're talking about racing. But no, you decided to go out there and race with the best of them today. So congratulations on your result. And I apologize for bothering you at a very unopportune time.
Well, it's never a bad thing hearing your voice, Jack, even if it is a mid-race trying to
Aw.
hang on to a P2 with a very fast Corvette behind me. But yeah, chuffed. It was a good race. I don't know what else to say.
It was interesting. I mean, I obviously came in and had to tell you and clarify, but the somehow, even though you said you were second to stop or thereabouts, at no point did that show up on the overlay. It said that you did not take a pit stop, and we were all wondering how you were still driving. And I mean, what was your strategy as far as with Olivier Brenois sniffing your backside for a good 15 minutes? What was your strategy there to keep him behind?
Adopt the Kevin Boss school of defense. Really, I think I was quite fortunate. To be fair, I think Olivier is obviously usually a much quicker driver than me, and definitely was this race. But the traction of the Porsche out of sort of some key corners, I think, really is what kept him behind. The center S's and really the last 2 corners, just being able to have that extra turn in and get on the power earlier, means I could just stay ahead of him down the long straights, which was a real big benefit. And I think he was pushing as well. I think, yeah, made maybe a couple of errors on some of the exits trying to chase me down, but the Porsche just planted. So I thank the car, to be honest, more than anything.
Well, I thought Mr. Reed would have something for you, but I guess back to me. I wasn't ready. But yeah, no, I alluded during that fight. I mean, it seemed that you showed your defensive line in turn 1 a couple of times, but sort of realized that you break better than the Corvette. We actually talked about it pre-race because I think we were talking about the Lexus brakes, but You'd mentioned that the Porsche stops better than everything else, and that seemed to have worked out for you. When you boxed, because obviously we didn't know. Was it back to raining, or was the circuit still drying, and you just sort of thought, we're gonna stay on the wets?
Yeah, so the obviously it went dry, and that just increased anxiety levels massively because you don't really know if when it's going to rain. You suspect it might because that's the rain percentage, but you don't know when. So I did plan to do half and half, take wets, but the track dried up, so I had to rethink about the strategy, which was just right. Let's just go as long as we can on these wets, and then pivot to whatever the track's doing. I saw the leader came in for the mediums. I think I was sitting in P4 at the time, just 2 seconds behind Olivier. The leader came in for the mediums, and he was clearly the good luck charm because the second he came in and took the mediums, it started raining again, which was positive for everyone that was still on the wets. So at that point, it was a case of right, when's the best time to box, and I just had the information page up, waited for the track to go slightly wet again, and just immediately came in for a set of wets. Yeah, immediately fueled up, set of wets, and thankfully that gave me the undercut on Olivier as well.
It seemed to be the absolute perfect strategy. And is that your best RCI result, or have you won a race yet? That sounded
No,
really
no,
mean.
it's that
Didn't
was
mean it
so
like
mean.
that. I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry.
It's my best RCR result on LMU for sure. But yeah, I've had better results, but I'm chuffed. I'm as we speak quite a lot. I'm loving the sim. So to get the result, which I felt like I've had good pace all season, but the Porsche has wanted to kill me on numerous occasions to get that kind of result. I'm chuffed. Yeah, really happy.
Well, congratulations on the result. An RCI career best for you. I expect great things tomorrow. Just so you're aware, I'm just going to get that out there now. Um, and thanks for joining us for a brief interview. Anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to thank? Any words of wisdom?
Obviously, just yourselves always for putting the effort in commentating these races. It's always greatly appreciated. And the people I was in the voice chat with, I think we had Malk, Cormac, and Tom Watts today. So yeah, looking forward to spending a lot of time with them tomorrow in the 12-hour spa.
Wonderful, wonderful. Adam, any closing thoughts from you?
I think a really enjoyable race. It's been a mighty, mighty kind of opportunity out here. No questions for the interviewees in the room. I think for me it's been a thoroughly enjoyable race. A lot of chaos. It's been interesting to see how this um LMGT3s and hypercars did negotiate the wet conditions at the Interlagos, and of course, when it did was momentarily in that dry phase. The kind of the decision making was so impeccable. Maybe more so than others, but I think for me, if we had to give out a driver of the day, it had to be Callum Kerrigan. There's no way I'm letting somebody who has gone 0 stops, outside. That was unbelievable drive from him.
Yeah, a great drive for him. A great drive from I'm just gonna say everybody that managed to stick it out, who managed to finish that race. Uh, ever changing conditions, uh, always making things more and more difficult. Never a dull moment behind the sim. And if you need more help, you know, getting adjusted, getting quicker on the sim, I got good news for you. We got some great, wonderful partners that can help you out with gear, with coaching, and with everything else. And who else to start off by shouting out? But Ready Set Sim, they're wonderful for if you need any sim rig gear. If you check out their Ready Set Sim builder on their website, if maybe if you want a dream shop, perhaps you can go there. But they are wonderful people. If you're looking to get quicker in the sim, Coach Dave Delta, great coaching tools, great setup guides and setups as well that you can get for them. you know uh, get quicker. Go talk to Dave. Go talk to Coach Dave Delta. Work with them. And if you're looking for cheap deals for any of those sims, if you're looking to maybe start one, maybe you're looking to jump into LMU for the first time, you can check out Green Man Gaming for great savings on PC games. And if you're in the market for maybe some new direct drive hardware, check out Moza Racing. We love Moza. I personally love Moza. I use Moza. I use a Moza rig. They're wonderful. They're uh, extremely high quality, extremely well priced gear. Not only do they have sim racing covered, they have trucking covered. They also have flight sim gear covered as well. And another thank you to Pimax as well. They have wonderful class leading VR headsets, wonderful clarity. I think they're working on a 12K VR headset, which is absolutely absurd. If you're looking to, upgrade an existing headset or get into the world of VR, we do have a discount code down below that you can take a look for. And last but not least, thank you to Motorsport UK for having us as a recommended community. It is an honor to be among the communities that they look out for. And I'm also going to take a moment, shout out some of our upcoming events on Saturday. Tomorrow, actually, we have our one of our iRacing one-offs. It's LMP3s and GC4s at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So if you're interested in that, signups are there. Go do it. Go jump in. Go race some race cars. And our next iRacing one-off, we have the 3 hours of Suzuka. It is great practice for the official 1,000 kilometers of Suzuka that iRacing hosts. That is on November 1st. So and I believe that's next Saturday. So if you're looking for some Suzuka practice, some Suzuka laps, please sign up for that. And for our weekly championships, we have Audi Academy, which the penultimate round will be on Monday. And there are still room for signups. We've moved from our GT4s, from our GT2s, and now we're in the uh, let's just say favorite of the bunch, the GT3 machinery, all drivers driving Audis. It's been a great series. I've been fortunate to commentate for most of it, and I'm looking forward to get back to that to watch these drivers absolutely kill it. We have our newly started prototype sprint series as well. We're on round 3 of that. Those are on Wednesdays. It's a bit of a lighter grid. Wednesdays tend to not be great days for drivers. But if you are available, if you want to drive the new LMP3 or the unrestricted LMP2 machinery, please do it. It's also on some fun circuit editions. Usually, I think next week we have the school circuit at Sebring, which I don't think I've ever actually seen driven. So if you're interested in that, sign up, sign up, sign up. And of course, Fridays, that's multi-sprint week. We have our final round next week. Signups are full, but there are reserve spots available. Reserve drivers have actually been getting in pretty regularly. So if you want some LMU multi-class action, you know where to look. All of that and more is on the racerci.com. And actually, I almost briefly forgot. Adam talked about it earlier. We have our Track Racer Alpine Sim Racing Series. That's being hosted by us. The first round was yesterday. The interesting thing about that series, 20,000 pounds worth of prizes able to be won. That's pre-qualifying was required for that series. It's already done and through. So fortunately, no more signing up for that. But if you want to stay informed about what's going on in that series, obviously racerci.com. Join our Discord. Come chat with us. Lovely folks, wonderful people that are around here, and wonderful people that have joined me here today on this broadcast. Obviously, I am Jack Mays. I don't need any introduction. You guys are probably tired of hearing my voice so constantly. But I was joined by none other than Adam Reed, making his glorious return to the comms box. A great pleasure. And a great pleasure is always having Ted Edwards as our brief co commentator and wonderful broadcaster, doing his best to catch all of the action in what was an extremely action packed Brazilian Sao Paulo Interlagos Lake of a Circuit race. Thank you all for being with us today, and we will see you all soon.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burn. burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow, go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight, blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are, chasing taillights.